Hello, the tides are turning this week for the Legacy Leagues in Massachusetts. And with the regular season quickly coming to an end, we've got a lot to talk about. Got some big games coming up, could decide the future of the playoffs. I'm joined by Elliot and Trent this week. And we'll just get right into the action with our first game. It was the closest game, ended in overtime victory for FTG against RI Wave. All right, we have FTG taking this one in OT, 88-84. Ethan Austin led the way for FTG in almost all the categories. 53 points, 6 assists, 10 rebounds. He was doing everything for him. He got them this win. It was, team game, but this was Ethan Austin's game this week. The crazy, crazy game, especially with these awards coming up. He's trying to make some statements out there. We've maybe not talked about him as much as we did in the summer this season because there's a lot more talent and a lot more teams to talk about. But this is definitely an Ethan Austin statement game here. But can't look past RI Wave. They only had 4 guys, still brought it to OT, and they had Cody leading the way with 32 points, Jared Hansen 24 points, Dom Linkson 22. Tough night for our boy Joey. We won't go in on him. We'll let it slide. He's been around. We'll let this one slide. We can't really bully him because he's in charge. We don't want to hurt his feelings. But yeah, I think we were talking last week about Dante and Darwin's games. I think it was like a 44-point close to triple-double for Darwin. And we were talking like, oh, is this the best game of the season from a single player? And then Ethan Austin comes out and drops 53 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, OT win, making some clutch free throws down the line too. But there was only 4 for RI Wave, and they played the whole game. FTG had all their guys besides Cole. So I don't know if this is a great look for FTG, coming up for the playoffs. RI Wave a few spots below them in the power rankings and standings, coming so close to beating them, literally just a few shots away. And I think what teetered here for FTG was the fouls. RI Wave had 2 guys with 6 fouls, but they couldn't foul out because of the 4 guys they only had. So it led to the bonus and getting more free throws. So FTG, I think, walked away a little easily this week. I think it could have gone bad for them. And I don't know if they should be celebrating this victory. I'll go to Elliot. Talk about FTG. Should they be happy or should they be looking to kind of make some corrections going into next week?
Well, when you're the only person in double figures, Ethan Austin, you got to get more people involved. I mean, he entered takeover mode, but it feels very reminiscent of just like you watch any sport and you see some player carry a team and you think, if this person, I think actually, Trent, you talked about this strategy last week with Kevin Views. If you let that person get theirs, but shut down everyone else, it could be a formula for success. So we'll see if this comes back to bite them in the playoffs, because as good of a player as Ethan Austin is, you're not going to do that every single time. So they might be in trouble, FTG, but they're on a streak right now. They're playing well.
I'll just hop right into Trent since you mentioned him. Trent, talk about how does a team contain Ethan Austin, and is this different from the Reapers? I think FTG has so many more scoring options than the Reapers do when it comes to just pure talent wise. They have a lot of all-stars from the summer on their team. So shutting out Ethan Austin, is that enough to beat FTG? What do you guys say?
Well, first thing first, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I understand, they only won by a couple points this game against a 4-team roster at this point. But sometimes you got to win those games like that, man. I think Ethan Austin just came to prove a point. He knows the season's coming to an end. Those ballots are coming in. He's a vet to this. He knows what's going on. And also we got to realize he didn't have one of his best players out there with Cole Sullivan too. I didn't see him play. So I wouldn't be too concerned about this team. I mean, at the end of the day, I believe they're 5-2. They're second in the conference behind A1. I think this team will be fine. Obviously, those type of games you can't rely on for Ethan Austin to drop 50 plus. It needs to be a more team game, but I think FTG will be fine. These other players will continue to step up. And like Terrence Gallo with 3 points, like when do we see that typically? Only one shot attempt. He's more in the game, more engaged, touching at least, even if he's missing shots, he has at least more attempted. So I think they're fine. I think Terrence, what's it called? I think Ethan Austin just wanted to prove a point because, like you said earlier, we haven't really brought him up much in this the post games. It's really just been Sean Yard, Kevin Views, Dante, and I feel like he feels disrespected about that. So he just wanted to come out and prove a point. But yeah, I think that they're fine. And if you do take Ethan Austin out the game, like I said, they got other players, Cole Sullivan, um, obviously Sebastian, Daquan, these other players, Terrence Gallo that can step up.
No, yeah, totally. Yeah, Ethan Austin, uh, proven any doubters in his talent wrong this week. As he said this in the interview, so this isn't coming from me, but he said there's a lot of old guys out there on the court. So you have to respect their game. A bunch of old guys going to OT this week. Yeah, so I don't know. FTG, it's one of those, like, I call them a super team because I know from the summer, I think they have 4 or 5 guys that were all stars. And when you have a team that has much talent, a couple of those guys don't really want to not share the ball, or they don't really want to share the ball as much. But it seems like they get along. It seems like they enjoy playing with each other. So if they don't win the chip this year, I would be questioning seeing a FTG, comeback, all of them on the same team, because usually super teams don't last too long in the NBA. But this is Legacy Leagues. Who knows? We do things a little different around here. Maybe they'll want to stay together, run it back again, and I think as that chemistry builds, they'll kind of be able to, you know, Sebastian has his night, Cole has his night, Daquan has his night, rather than Ethan Austin having to drop 53 points, averaging 30 this season. But you know, we'll see what happens when it comes to the playoffs. We'll talk about that later. Um, and we'll go into our next game. I know there's a game. A lot of our viewers, our vocal viewers that talk to us every Monday, want to listen to and get us talking about. But I'll make you wait because we got to get our minutes up on Spotify. It doesn't come easy to us, so you guys got to keep listening for that game. We'll move into our uh, one of the more blowouts of the week: A1 versus the Party Crashers. You know, number one seeded A1 right now versus the 0-6 Party Crashers. Did we expect too much from the Party Crashers? Did we expect too little? Elliot, I'm sorry, we let you down. We let you down. I know you wanted to buy us all sweatshirts, but we tried our best. We had fun. That's all I promised, and we had fun. Um, Darwin and Dante continuing their MVP level seasons, making it even harder for us voters. I mean, we got Darwin dropping 32 points, 6 threes, 6 steals. Dante, 30 points, 13 assists, 9 rebounds, 1 shy away from a triple-double, 5 steals as well, approaching a quadruple-double. Maybe we'll see that next week or in the playoffs. I want to see somebody drop a quadruple-double. Felix Moore had a big game, 22 points, 10 rebounds, just clogging up the paint. Party Crashers, just a little bit of everyone, per usual. Alex Silva leading the way with 14 points. My boy Boke, they call him Bird for a reason, hit 3 threes. 4 points, 1 rebound, 2 assists, 1 block from me, guys. Give me a round of applause for that. Thank you. Yeah, something to keep an eye out on. Second half was a 4-point difference. That's all I'm saying. I know they didn't have Manny Sanchez and Angel, but yeah, it was still a 4-point difference in that second half. And we were hitting our shots. Maybe the Party Crashers are coming alive. Uh, I think this is a good game of just don't give up. Me and my boys were having fun, but we were trying our best, and we came out in that second half and we were matching them. We had 8 blocks. Defensively, we're going for every, like, you might see us getting dunked on Instagram and stuff, but we're going for the blocks, man. We don't care. We want to put our heart into it. what's life if you don't give it all you got, you know? Yeah, I'll go right back to Elliot first again. Um, kind of talk about A1. Maybe talk about that 4 point difference a little bit. You know, is that something to kind of look at? I don't know. I think they'll think that it's not much. Maybe they weren't trying in the second half. I feel like they were. You let me know.
Yeah, I listened to one of the conversations a little bit they were having at, I think it was in the fourth quarter, because as you said, like there was a time where they kind of weren't playing up to their standards, and Dante, man, he was being vocal about it. You know, I don't mean to name drop him, but like as a leader, that's something I think he feels obligated to do. And you know, he's like, hey, why are we turning the ball over? Why are we settling with these shots? Why aren't we playing as a defensive unit, right? And playing together. We should be doing this for all 4 quarters. So I think that's the type of mindset that wins championships. And as they said in the post game interview, the only thing that can beat them is themselves. And it's that, like, if you fall into that slacking habit, you can easily, you know, lose a game that way. How many times have we seen the Boston Celtics, who look unstoppable, right, then suddenly fall apart in the fourth quarter because they start settling? Right. So sometimes even the best teams have a weakness, and that might be the only one that A1 has. And I think as long as they continue to play together as a team, they'll be fine. But hey, shout out to the Party Crashers. You guys played hard. I respect it.
Thank you, thank you. We love to hear it. We love our respect on the podcast. You know, we're trying our best out there. We know we're not one of the top dogs, but we're here to have fun. Yeah, Darwin and Dante. It's so hard to pick between them. Who's better? I know they want to do co MVPs. That's what they were saying in their interview. Sorry, guys, that's not going to happen. We're not everyone wins kind of league. We only have one trophy. Um, so it's got to be someone. I honestly don't know. I feel like it could lean either way if based on what you're talking about. Darwin is unstoppable. I don't think I've seen anybody shoot like him in across any legacy league in any season. I think he might be up there for the best 3 point shooter of all time that I've seen in the legacy leagues. That's a big statement, but there was a shot where he was off balance in the furthest amount of the corner you could be, and I full extended. I'm almost a foot taller than him, and I was jumping at him. I don't even know how he could see the rim because after I turned around and he released his shot, I turned around and had to like go around the corner to see if it went in, and it went in. And he like patted me on the back right before it went in. I was like, oh my god, he cooked me there. Told me it was good defense, but you know, better shooter. That's all I can say for that one. But I do have a worry for A1, and that's the only one that can beat them is themselves. But also maybe I feel like if there's a team that is just aggressive to the paint, dude, without Manny there, I think that's their weakness. I think their paint defense is where they struggle the most. Um, you know, they put a lot on Felix Moore, but he's out there like the entire game. When he's getting all your rebounds defensively, I know Dante and Darwin strive in offensive rebounds more. They're putting a lot of pressure on Felix without Manny there or even Angel there. So, Trent, do you kind of want to talk about that? Talk about like what does it look like for an A1 FTG matchup in the playoffs potentially without Manny Sanchez there and Angel? Is that going to be a closer game than we saw like earlier in the season?
They're not gonna like this, but I think A1's a great team. I do, but like you said, without some of their players not showing up or whatever's going on with them, they ain't gonna win 4-on-8. I mean, the Reapers, they show up every night. Majority of their roster, FTG, majority of their roster shows up. I don't care how good Dante is and this A1 team is. In the playoffs, the intensity is going to be a little bit different. The shots are going to be tougher to make. They're good shooters, don't get me wrong, but I'm sure, you know, it's one, you win one game and you're done. Yes. So I think there's three teams that can take down A1. Three teams. Yep. FTG, Reapers, and people call me crazy, but BTA haven't had their full roster since week one. They haven't. People don't even know that. They haven't had their full roster since week one. They were missing like 3 to 4 players, and BTA was with them till 3 quarters until A1 got into her head. But they even said it was like after they got in our head, we was out of it. So don't be surprised if A1 comes out here and they lose in the playoffs. Don't be surprised. They think they're just going to beat everybody. It's not sweet out here sometimes. It's not. So make sure you have make sure everybody is there for A1 because I think there's going to be upsets for that team. Like you said, like 4 to 5 players, you're going to get gassed out. It's difference between the playoffs and the regular season is totally different. They know. But also, I will say, I thought it was pretty funny. I think I followed one of them on Instagram. And it was like, it's time to crash a party. And I just instantly thought of the party crashers. I instantly knew they were playing, y'all. But yeah, man, A1, y'all hear this, man. I'm just, y'all better be ready.
Elliot, I don't want to move past without going to you. I see you making a lot of emotional head nods over there. Let me hear what you have to say to Trent right now.
Trent, my guy, this team's not losing in the playoffs. I'm not going to go out here and make any bets, man. Not again. I mean, the Party Crashers one was maybe like a minus 15,000, but I will say, as long as Darwin and Dante are both healthy, I don't see them losing. And to Cade's point about the paint presence, they're not even letting teams get to the paint. Like, that just adds layers to the dimensional team that they are. And we saw Darwin go cold from 3. They made up for it by getting to the hoop. And the way that the chemistry goes, they're just – I know the sexy pick is let's see an upset. They're not losing, man. They're not and I don't care if Sean Yard goes off. I don't care if our boy Kevin Views goes off. They're not going to lose.
If I go off, you never know.
Cade could drop, 37, 38 one of these nights, maybe if there's 6-year-olds on the floor. But they ain't losing. They ain't losing.
Just because you interview them every week, man, we get it. We get it. I've seen teams like this. I've seen them all the way to the top, and they fall completely down. Trust me, I'm not worried about A1. I give you their credit. They're a great team, but you're telling me you don't think these other teams in the league see them and they know them? Reapers, FTG, BTA, you think they're just going to let them come back and just destroy them again? I don't see it. I think they're going to be prepared and ready for that team. If you think A1's going to go through the playoffs and just demolish everybody like it was nothing, you'll see.
Well, it might not be a demolition, but close game. I don't see a team out. They play at a different pace than anybody. It's night and day. And the game slows down in the playoffs, so I'll give you that. Basketball tends to slow down come playoff time. But when they dictate the game the way they want to, they're nearly unstoppable. So that's what I got.
All right, we'll cut it off there. I love the different takes there. I have a take, but I'm gonna save it for a little later on when we start talking about playoffs, because I'm not fully with Trent, but I'm also not fully with Elliot. Because call me crazy, there's another team I want to bring up when we talk about A1, but we'll get to that. We won't make our listeners wait too long to get this ball moving again. So we will go to our third game. We got Run It Up versus BVO. Run It Up took this one 74-63, 11-point victory for Run It Up. Sean Yard doing Sean Yard things. I mean, 35 points, 10 rebounds, doing everything. Casey Key, his usual number 2 option there for Run It Up, 14 points, 10 rebounds, putting that hustle every single play. I love how Casey Key plays. He is so aggressive, and it kind of just like disorients you when he's just charging at you. I think he is definitely a key factor to every win they have gotten. BVO, Casey Kendall led the team 14 points. Nate Wright 10 points, 12 rebounds, double for them. I honestly think this was one of the better BVO games. I know it's an 11-point loss, but defensively, I think they played better than Run It Up. It's hard to contain Sean Yard, but I'll get into the stats here. I mean, they hit the same amount of shots, so this basically comes down to free throws or just turnovers basically, or 3 pointers made. For the game, BVO shot better too. They shot 48% to run it up's 41. So yeah, I think this just came down to key guys on run it up knocking down threes. And we mentioned that I think a couple weeks ago. We said uh, I think they played RI Wave, and we were talking about, yeah, this just comes down to a key guy here hitting a three when in the fourth quarter when they need it most, and that's kind of what they did this game. They hit a three when they needed it. They had a lot of guys who were knocking down threes that they don't usually do. So it was a key game for those guys, and kind of run it up, showing us. They've got those guys who can hit those shots, and that's kind of what we talk about usually when we talk about run it up. We do talk about their second half play, and it definitely showed here again too. The second half was not as much of a difference than the first half. They went off to a hot start and became a little cold in the second half. Yeah, so I think this game comes down to the 3 pointers. BVO played a good game. They played great defensively, and I think they took better shots, passing the ball around. I don't think they turned the ball over as much. I think it was a really good game, and it just comes down to fouls and those 3-point shots. I'll go to I know Trent, big fan of Sean Yard, so you kind of tell me what you guys say about his run here in the Legacy Leagues this season.
I like Sean Yard. His team is not great. His team's getting eliminated first round. It's a repeated cycle with Run It Up. It doesn't matter how many times you tell them what they need to do. They just don't have the personnel on the roster. It's unfortunate. There's no way this game should be that close. And don't get me wrong, BVO has been playing way better the last 3 games. They have. But for this game right here, these are the type of moments where other players need to step up. And it just seems like every time you watch the game, it's always Sean Yar and KC Key. There's never a third guy that they have that's going to step up and play big moments. I'm rooting for Sean Yard, biased or not, but he's not going to be able to get it done. Team defensively is not that great. Offensively is not that great. He's putting up 35 points, having half of the team's points, if my math is correct. So, yeah, I've been telling them, I've been rooting for them all year, but they're just not going to get it done. And like I said, they're going to be gone first round.
Nah, it's hard when you got two guys that are performing, and it's just like, you can't just magically, become more talented in the middle of the season. It's definitely they got to get a third guy in the off season. If they do get a third option though, I think this is a good team. They've had some close games with some better teams. Go Trent.
Third options right here, man. Third options right
Yeah.
here, man.
All right, you heard it run up. He was just talking some trash. I don't know if some of those guys want to play with you now, but we'll see. We'll see. Um, yeah, I like the BVO play this week. It would have definitely shook up the standings if Run It Up took an L this week, but they didn't. They powered through. They got past that dreaded second half that they hate to play. I think they wish this was just a first half kind of league. I don't think they like the whole 4 quarters thing. Yeah, Sean Yard, doing Sean Yard things. Definitely look at him for some awards later in the season. We will be voting soon. Yeah, we will move on to our last game, and I know that's the one the listeners have been waiting for. I know they're vocal every week, so we'll go right into it, and that's B2A versus Reapers. This was definitely I would say the biggest game of the week. I started last week saying it was the biggest game of the week. Trent made some bold comments about the Reapers, and look at guys, Trent's right. Trent knows what he's talking about, guys. B2A took this one 72-67. Yeah, I mean, this game was so close. When it comes down to the stats, uh, 33 rebounds to 32 rebounds, 19 assists to 21 assists, 8 blocks to 8 blocks, 7 steals to 7 steals. The Reapers just fouled more, I think. They had 16 fouls to B2A's 8. Yeah, just a bit sloppy in the beginning for the Reapers. I don't know what's been going on. They earlier in the first half of the season, their strongest part of their game was the first quarter, and they would just annihilate the first quarter and get such a good lead where they can kind of play slower defensively and maintain that lead throughout the game, even if they're, going shot for shot with teams later on. They just had that early start that they don't have to worry about that. Now, the last few weeks, they've started so slow, it's just been struggling. They've been struggling for the rest of the game trying to come back. They started, it was a 10 to 22 difference in the first quarter. Um, yeah, I think this game says so much for B2A because I loved seeing them come back this season. Took a tough loss to run it up earlier in I think the first week, um, and then they lost to FTG, a close game, and we kind of slept on them a little bit, but they've crept their way back, and I think they've made a name for themselves as potentially the number 2 team right now. They just took down the number 2 team that we didn't think, or I'd say maybe Trent did, but a lot of us didn't think they could do. Um, Giordani Neville leading the way, 22 points, 13 rebounds, 5 steals. Jakai Nelson, 22 points. He shot 6 for 3 or 6 for 11 from 3. Uh, Quiet game for Mo Ashley. He finally made a return. He's usually their leading scorer with averaging 22 points. Only got 7 points this week, but he did get 8 assists. Showing that he can do more than just score when his team needs it. No Daraj Advance this week. He's a huge key on defense, which you're going to need when you're facing a team like the Reapers. But P2A does it again. They show us that they have so many guys. They don't need some of these guys to show up every week to be getting these big victories against these big teams. We usually see a lot more scoring from the rest of the guys on B2A, but I think this is a very, very well-rounded basketball game from everyone that we don't need to see 15 plus from every single player. Getting 2 guys hot while your rest of the team is doing everything else you need to do, that's what gets you wins. And yeah, Carlos Bermudez-Glean led the team, I think, for the first time for the Reapers, 24 points, 3 steals. He's doing his thing on defense per usual. Kevin Views, 16 points, 6 assists. We said last week, or Trent said last week, the key to beating Reapers, holding Kevin Views. Now, I know Kevin Views had some lesser scoring games in the past where they still won, but definitely Kevin Views not dropping 30. That's a difference here. B2A did their research. They were talking their trash, and it came down to the team making a few more shots, a few less fouls, and that was B2A in the end. I'll go right to Trent since I know he wants to talk about his team. He loves this team. Talk about B2A. Trent, go for it.
Yeah, man, I knew this team. I know that this team has the potential. Remember what I said, the potential to win it all because they're deep. If you look at this BTA team, man, each week there's a different score.
Yeah.
Each week, right? Daraj Devance didn't play this week, but guess who stepped up? Or Giordani, I think that's how
Yep.
you say it.
Yeah.
Yep. And then you got Jakai, who always plays good basketball, right? Other weeks, Anthony Cabero stepping up. The other week, it was Samaj stepping up against BBO. I mean, this team has different scores every single week, and that's why I like this team to upset a lot of teams. And I'm not surprised BTA won this game because, like you brought it up earlier, the Reaper's been starting off very, very slow. And you can't start off slow when the playoffs hit. I mean, if you're going against a good team, 10 to 22 in the first quarter, good teams are going to maintain that lead. I know Elliot sweats A1. If they see A1, and I got Reapers being A1, but if A1 is up 22-10, A1's not letting that lead go. It's not like they're not coming back. You know what I mean? So, like, them slow starts is going to affect them. And I know I'm very hard on Kevin Views, but I remember week 1, Kevin Views was like second in points league leaders. He's not even in the league leader points no more. He's not. You know what I mean? He's not even in the top 5. And I looked at his last couple games. There was games right in the beginning of the year, 39, 27, 24, 34. His numbers have dropped from 12 to 15 to 16. Now, he's shooting efficiency is getting his team involved, but big moments, big time. Who do you rely on? I try to give example. You rely on the greats of all time, Durant, LeBron. Kevin Views is that for the Reapers. So he needs to continue to he needs to step up. You know what I mean? Like he should be leading the team in points every week. And it tells you how good his team is constructed. Don't get me wrong. But 12 points is not going to get it done. You get the victory, cool. But in the playoffs, it's not going to get it done. If Dante drops 12 points, is A1 winning that game? You know what I mean? Like there's different things. It's tough with this Reapers team, man. But BTA, man, I'm like I said earlier, they were missing a couple of guys. One of the guys came back already. But if they have their full roster, this team is deep. I think they have the deepest team in the league, actually. If everybody's playing.
That's definitely an easy conversation to have for deepest team, them and I think FTG. But B2A has those guys. Ja'Kai Nelson, I think, only had 10 points last week, and they were all like poster dunks. And this week he's hitting 6 threes. I think they're all well-rounded hoopers, and that's what it comes down to. I don't think any of these guys really have a key part of their game that excels over the others. I don't think they all have like a huge weakness that pops up. Um, I think they're just all very well efficient basketball players, and I think that's what makes it hard for teams to defend guys like this. Reapers, when you have a team that's known for their defense, you need to have four defenders out there, and if Reapers don't got four defenders out there when they're playing B2A, then someone's gonna be scoring for B2A because they can all do it. Um, Elliot, I'll go to you for talk about the Reapers. They were number 2 in the power rankings, I believe, in the standings too. But taking a loss like this deep in the season, what does that say about them?
It's a big loss. It's a big loss for their morale. It's a big loss, just as you said, for the standings. But they'll bounce back. I'm confident in that. And if anything, our latest power rankings might be a little motivation for them to do that. So that's really all I got for the Reapers. An energetic team, and this is just a bump in the road. They'll bounce back. So I would not count them out for a second. They've been good all year. What happened. They ran into a team that played better than them that day. It's as simple as that. Oh, I got to hear Trent.
Trent, talk. Go for it. We'll
You
keep
said
this going.
ran into a team that was better than them today. You sure about that?
That day.
I totally disagree, man. Listen, if we're talking week 1, Reapers,
They won the game.
Cool. But if we're talking BTA, listen, a full season's a full season, right? The Reapers haven't been the same in the last 3 to 4 weeks. Cade brought it up. They haven't. Every game they're in, they've managed to pull it out, which is good. That's a good team. But there's games where they're always losing in the first half. That's not going to get the job done. Before, they'll get the job done right away, so you don't have to worry about that. Now they're trying to rush into the game. They're getting a little bit more frustrated. They're letting the refs get into it. Now they're arguing with their teammates. You see that in the playoffs. You take advantage of that. You know what I mean? So I give you it. I think the Reapers are good, but I think BTA overall is a better team than them.
Trent,
Record may not see it. Record might not say it, but record doesn't always mean everything too.
Trent, who's in the Super Bowl, man? Kansas City Chiefs.
All right. We don't got to talk about the Super Bowl. We can talk about the Super Bowl next week.
No, but I got a point. I got a point.
For it. Yeah, let me hear you.
The Chiefs have looked like a team that doesn't belong there, but they win.
Best quarterback in the league.
They win. And in the playoffs, that's all that matters. You can win ugly. And if the Reapers win ugly, then they win ugly, and they advance.
I mean, somebody's going to be proven right in the next couple of weeks, and we'll be able to talk about that. We'll be able to see who comes out on top here, Elliot versus Trent. We're talking about these teams versus each other. We got Trent versus Elliot right now. This is awesome. I think that wraps up about all the games this week. And we'll look into next week, and that's when I was talking a little bit earlier about A1. I'll bring it up now. So next week we got Party Crashers versus B2A for the first time. We got FTG versus Run It Up, Reapers versus BVO. Not a lot of high end matchups here, but this is what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about A1 versus RI Wave, because I think RI Wave can win this game. You can call me crazy, but let me explain myself. What does A1 do defensively that wins them these games? And that's steal the ball. You know who doesn't turn over the ball? Cody Crawford in the RI Wave. They've been in the league way too long. They played every kind of defense you can play 4v4. They know how to get past this kind of defense. I don't think pressing RI Wave will work for them. And there's no team that I think attacks the basket better than RI Wave when they have their full roster. I think Dom Langston is just a beast down low, and I don't think without Manny Sanchez there, an Angel there, I don't think they can contain him. And Cody Crawford makes smart plays, and A1 strives off of people making mistakes, and Cody Crawford is not the type of player to make a mistake. Um, I'm not saying it's going to be a very convincing win, but I think ROH shouldn't be looked past. I don't think they're that big of a difference here. Um, but that's what's so good about this season. I think there's so many good teams, and I think there's so many possibilities that can happen with these games. I don't think it's that clear that A1 can win all the games. Um, you know, A1 Reapers we want to see really bad again, but Reapers just lost to B2A, so maybe we want to see A1 versus B2A. But that was a bigger game a couple weeks ago, and they didn't have Manny Sanchez, so I don't know. Yeah, anything you guys want to talk about next week's games?
Yeah, Elliot said this. I want to bring up his point real quick. Elliot said something about the Chiefs. It matters like they're winning games, right? Even the Chiefs lost games, so remember that. So if you want to compare the Chiefs to A1, the A1 time is eventually going to happen. They're eventually going to lose a game. There's only one game left in the season.
But
There's only one game left in the season, and a loss can happen at any time. I'm just saying, Dante, one of them can have a bad night. One of them don't show up, they can lose. That's what I'm saying. You can't just say, oh, they're gonna win every single game. There's a team that's always gonna lose. There's no way they're gonna go undefeated. But I'll go talk about the other things, but I'll let you go, Elliot.
No, I wouldn't compare A1 to the Chiefs. I'd compare them to the Detroit Lions this year. I mean, they steamrolled everyone, and look what happened to them. They did get upset in the playoffs, so you're right. But I was comparing the Reapers to the Chiefs. And is it unfair for me to compare Kevin Views to both James Harden and Patrick Mahomes in one season? Probably.
But I do agree
he
with
wouldn't say that. He wouldn't say that. He likes those
Nah, he'd say,
comparisons.
"I'm him. I'm him." That's what he would say.
Kevin Hughes hasn't been him in the last 4 weeks. But I do agree with you though, Cade. I think ROH can give A1 a chance. Like that's not a bad thing to say at all. Like you said, Cody's a vet. Cody Crawford's a vet. You know what I mean? He's been in this league for a while. And the fact that there were 4 players against a whole FTG team, then you just give them credit for that. But if they just have a couple of their players show up and play, it's a dogfight. You know what I mean? It's gonna be a dogfight. That's all I want to see from ROH. I already called them frauds. But if you beat A1, you shut me up, and that's all I ask for. You shut me up because every take that I said so far, I may have been wrong a few times, but I've been right majority of the time on this show, man. So I don't think that's a bad take at all. I'm excited to watch that matchup. Looking forward to it, and that's a perfect match to end the season to head into the playoffs. I think that's a perfect match, especially for RI Wave because they're 3-4. If they can get a big win like this, that's a big motive. That's momentum heading into the playoffs. And if you beat the best team, you think you could beat everybody else now.
Exactly. I think RI Wave lost by 4 points to FTG without Shaq Audrey too, their leading scorer. And there's some guys on RI Wave that hasn't really shown up this year that I think that team would have been very different, but we can't talk about that. The season's over. Those guys should have showed up. Um, yeah. We'll look into the standings right now and kind of the potential matchups. As of right now, first round will be A1 versus Party Crashers. Only thing there, don't laugh. Hey, that was a 4 point difference in the second half. We'll use that as our game plan. And then we got BVO versus Reapers. And this is if all the um favorites win next week is what I'm getting at right now. That being A1, B2A, FTG, Reapers winning next week. So yeah, we got BVO versus Reapers if they win next week, and they're playing them this week. And the same with FTG versus Running Up. They're also playing this week, and that would be the first round matchup as well. So we might see the same game in 2 different matchups, with FTG and Running Up being the next seeded matchup. And then an interesting one would be B2A versus RI Wave. I think that run it up loss earlier in the season is going to hurt B2A because they could have had a much easier matchup. I think that's the hardest possible matchup for them when it comes to the standings in the first round. But they've showed us in the past that they can get past those hard teams. So, and there's not too many scenarios that can kind of change up the standings next week. Like I said, we got Reapers losing to B2A, but we had the Reapers beating FTG, but we had FTG beating B2A. So that I think would end in a point differential if B2A wins and FTG and Reapers lose, but I just don't see that happening. So I don't think we have to think about that too much. If the B2A and I think FTG, if FTG loses and B2A wins, we would see a first round run it up B2A rematch. That would be a cool little game to see. But if it is just the favorites and we see B2A pass RI Wave in the first round and A1 pass Party Crashers in the first round, that's an A1 B2A matchup in the second round. And if we see the Reapers and FTG win their games, that's a Reapers FTG second round. And yeah, and then from that point, I think it's any team. I think these matchups are so close. It's going to be very hard to call these games, but it'll be fun. It'll be fun to talk about. With you guys were talking about A1 and not losing. Guess who didn't lose a game last season? The Reapers. And guess who lost in the finals? The Reapers. Do you guys want to add anything before I wrap it up there? We can drop the mic there if you want, or let's just keep talking. You can go for it. No. Well,
Listen, man. Momentum is an illusion, as a great quarterback once said. Momentum is an illusion, and that there goes to your point. Anyone can win on any given Monday in this league.
The only thing I will say, and I got BTA winning it all.
yeah. Yeah, Elliot's got A1. We don't even have to ask him. I got Party Crashers. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you for tuning in. Shout out Elliot, shout out Trent. I'm Cade, the host. Signing off. We'll see you all next week. Thank you.